Welcome back. It's still the breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and we are looking at what is happening in Cross River State as a court has failed to sack Ben Ayade after his defection. Let me just give you a bit of a background to the story. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Thursday dismissed a suit by the People's Democratic Party seeking the removal of Governor Ben Ayade of Cross River State for defecting to the All Progressives Congress, the APC. Delivering his judgment on the suit, the judge, Taiwo, held that a governor cannot be sacked on account of defecting from the political party on whose platform he was elected to another. The judge based his decision on the last Friday's judgment of the Court of Appeal in Enugu, which dismissed an appeal filed against the Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umahi, on account of his defection from the PDP to the APC. Taiwo had on Wednesday entertained argument from lawyers to the parties in the Ayade's case to determine the significance of the latest decision of the Court of Appeal on the implication of the defection of the governor from one party to another. All right, we have a legal practitioner joining us right now to discuss the merit of the case and try to make some sense out of it. We have Leonard Anyogo joining us. Good morning to you, Leonard.
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning.
Yes, it is our pleasure. Let's try and break down all that happened with the court, decision yesterday, and in as much as the PDP say they are going to appeal again. Can you break it down for us? What happened at the court yesterday?
Well, thank you again for having me this morning. At the Federal High Court yesterday, presided over by Justice Taiwo. The matter actually came up for judgment, and the judgment was delivered. But the background of it is that a day before that judgment was delivered, the Federal High Court called on the counsel for both parties to address it on the judgment of the Court of Appeal of Enugu Division between Senator Ugwoji and Umahi case that clearly stated that defection is not one of the grounds for removing a serving governor. So the council did address the court. And so it was adjourned to yesterday for judgment. And in what I would call a major judgment on the issue of defection of governors or elected executive, both the governor and the deputy governor from one political party to another, was laid to rest yesterday. But the take is that it wasn't the first time that the issue of defection of executive was being dealt with by the court. In fact, the Supreme Court in AG Federation and article had clearly stated that you cannot remove the vice president, the then vice president Atiku Abubakar, from office because he defected from PTB then to ACN. So that principle was applied by the Court of Appeal in Enugu Division, where it clearly stated that defections is not contemplated by the Nigerian Constitution. In fact, if you look at section 180, 188, and 189, these are sections of the 1999 Constitution amended that clearly stipulate circumstances where a state governor or a deputy governor can be removed from office. This, that he either resigns voluntarily, maybe he resigns, or he dies in office, or is incapacitated, or is removed by impeachment. So defections was not contemplated by the Constitution. But the court went ahead to say that no matter how painful you look at it, no matter how immoral you look at it, that you have been elected from a particular platform, a political platform, and for you to defend, it is immoral. But it is not illegal, because that is the position of the law as I speak. Because if the intent of the Constitution contemplated defection for the executive would have been clearly stated.
Now, just to understand, really, to just, place the issue in Cross River State side by side with what happened in Ebonyi State. David Umahi was actually, from the court judgment, he was asked, to step down, from his office because of defection, right? So what?
Yes, you're correct.
So what's the difference right now? We're still talking about the same defection.
Yes, it's true.
You say the court
the Dave Umahi's case of Ebonyi State, that judgment was delivered by Justice Ekwo of the same Federal High Court. But remember, as at then, there was no subsisting Court of Appeal judgment by the Enugu division that dealt on the same subject matter. So I am sure that if there was a court of appeal judgment, the decision of Justice Eko would have been different. But that matter and that case has now been settled on the issue of defection. So David Umahi came earlier on. The Ayade's case, the Governor Ayade of Cross River State case, came up yesterday after the decision of the Court of Appeal Enugu Division. And by the doctrine of stare decisis, what that means is that President, a lower court is bound to apply the decision of a superior court. Remember that the Federal High Court, in terms of hierarchy of court, is below that of the Court of Appeal. So it was banned. And then I want Justice Taiwo, I was in court, that said that he has no reason but to bow to the superior court decision. You know, this decision has always been taken by the Court of Appeal and also earlier on superintended by the Supreme Court. So Justice Taiwo had no option but to kowtow, but what we call judicial discipline, now to follow the dictate of the Superior Court. So that is the difference. The Justice Umahi case was decided earlier before the Court of Appeal decision in Enugu district, because the growth of the matter, the main issue is defections. Can you remove a sitting governor because he defected? The court went further to say that by virtue of section 40 of the Constitution that talk about freedom of association, that an elected governor or deputy governor has the right to move from one political party to another. That is the law as it is. But, you know, some questions were raised in terms of immorality. You know, the difference between morality and law is that law has sanctions, and most often is codified, though there are conventions. So there's punishment section for you to break if you offend the law, but there's none if it is morality. So I can wake up in the morning, I decide not to greet you, and nothing will happen to me. I can also wake up in the morning if I decide to slap you, and there's punishment section for that act. So no matter how immoral, no matter how questionable you look at it, it is not illegal. So you cannot remove a sitting governor who has defected from one political party to another because it is not contemplated by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Remember that the Constitution is a grown-up, is the overall law of the land. So, and it is supreme over all other considerations. Section 1 sub 1 of the Constitution of Nigeria. So it is supreme. So it was based on the constitutional provision that the court decided yesterday that, look, defection is not a ground. It's not one of the grounds of removing a governor or a deputy governor who has moved from one political party to another.
Okay, Leonard Anyogo, let's also look at the fact that some Nigerians have constantly said that this judgment has been induced. It's a judgment that's been induced, and some people have accused, you know, the judiciary and Nigeria for having double standards, same courts and different ruling. I know that you have actually, you know, tried to shed light on what has transpired in terms of the difference, but there seemed to be a vast majority with the sense that this was a judgment that's been the judiciary or the judgment was induced.
Not at all. With the greatest respect, by the grace of God, I'm a senior legal practitioner. You see, sometimes it's ignorance of how the law operates. You know, different facts, different circumstances, different time also influence the way judgment is entered in most cases. Like in Dave Umahi's case, the governor of Ebonyi State, I just said earlier on that decision was done before the Court of Appeal decision. And let me stress a bit on the issue of stare decisis, that is following precedent of the Superior Court. You know, there's no way the Justice Taiwo's court, the Federal High Court yesterday, would have departed from the clear dictum or dictate of the law as stated by the Court of Appeal, which is higher in the hierarchy of court. Of course, the Court of Appeal equally based her decision on the decision of the Supreme Court in the AG Federation versus Atiku. You know, so there's a clear difference because one was earlier before a Superior Court decided on that issue. So the issue of stare decisis, the issue of precedent in judicial administration of justice is there. So it will amount to judicial rascality or judicial insubordination for a lower court to deviate from the principle that is enunciated and set out and established by a superior court Then it makes the law become very uncertain. So what I'm telling Nigerians in this instant case that there have not been any deviation. There is no inducement whatsoever. It is a clear case of how the law operates and how the Constitution foresees it. You know, somewhere, if you want to look at judicial activism, you can say that, okay, now you can go to the National Assembly and try to amend the law by saying that if a sitting governor defects, he loses his seat. You know, so, but that is not the law as it is now. The judiciary interprets the law, not necessarily making the law. The principle of separation of power, where the legislature make laws, judiciary interpret. You know, so those issues of separation of power is jealously guarded by the Nigerian Constitution.
All right.
Now, but you know, just before we have Justin come through now with his thoughts. What would you say that the law should do about the issue of defection? Over time, we've heard that it's really more of a moral issue, but not a legal issue. Should we not have laws very precise and stipulated about the issue of defection?
The good thing about the Nigerian Constitution, it says that we, the Nigerian people, if we, the Nigerian people, decide that defection is morally not good, it's something that we should seriously frown upon. Just like I said, we'll go back to the Constitution by amending the Constitution, by going to the National Assembly. I'm happy that there's an ongoing constitutional amendment by inserting that defection, if a governor or deputy governor defects, he loses the office of the governor. In fact, some questions were raised by Justice Taiwo and said that, okay, can you actually move a vote from one political party to the other? Because you contested under a particular platform. But just like I said, the Constitution is supreme. Because the intent of the Constitution did not contemplate defection as one of the grounds of removing a sitting governor or a governor or a deputy governor. But the case is different from that of the legislators, that you can lose your seat. A by-election can be ordered if you defect from one political party to another without justification for that. But in the case of the elected executive, there's no mention of it in the Constitution. That's why I say Constitution is an ongoing exercise that will keep changing as the society evolves. So maybe as we progress into the future, defection will not be made one of the grounds for removing a governor or a deputy governor who leaves one political office that he or she was elected of and then move to the other.
So clearly now what we know is that only a state parliament or legislature can actually remove a governor from office.
Exactly. And or he resigns or he becomes incapable of holding that office. So if you look at section 180, 188 and 189, those are very clear provisions of the Constitution that tell how a governor can be removed from office, or how a governor can vacate office, or his tenure has elapsed by a fraction of time, maximum 4 years, and if he's re-elected, 8 years. So like in the case of Governor Ayade, his tenure will come to an end on the 28th of May, 2023, and on the 29th of May 2023, a new governor in Cross-River State will be sworn in to take over from him.
All right, so, Leonard, you talked about legality versus morality in all of this. Now, with all of this that is happening right now, what does this really tell about the factions in the country, since there is no clear law which states that a governor can be sacked if he defects from one political party to the other? In future, don't you think we'll be having just arbitrary defections of governors from one party to the other over time?
Well, I keep saying that we're an evolving democracy. In 2019, in the UK, where I sit as a member of the Chatham House, I did an article on African leadership. That African leadership, when I talk about Africa now, Nigeria inclusive, that we must continue to engage with the people. We must continue to evolve policies that come from the people, rather than the few privileged persons that find themselves in office. And of course, the consciousness across the African continent, including Nigeria, is there now. So it's an evolving democracy. Evolving in the sense that we look at things that can be done differently. for a better society. So it keeps evolving. We cannot be static. And that's why this issue of restructuring, when people say restructuring is not dividing the country into different political zones. It's the way we look at things, the different ways we do things from what it is. If things are not working, we'll do it differently. On the issue of defections, I can tell you that I'm of the view that defections is morally wrong. But as a lawyer, that is the provision of the law. So if I'm given opportunity, I could say that I could advocate that defections for political stability, the law should uphold that. Because for me, I think that there's actually no difference between the political ideologies or the political parties we have in the country. There's no difference between, in reality, there's no difference between Party A. I don't want to start calling Party A, Party B, Party C. We have had defections across board from the legislators, from the executive. So it has become a norm. So if Nigerian people now feel that it's high time we got defection to be regulated by statute, I think that would be a way of an evolving democracy. And as an evolving democracy, we can always make the society better by going with the dictate of the time.
So looking at 2023, do we see more of these cases for us in Nigeria? I mean, where there would be several lawsuits seeking to sack governors or deputy governors, National Assembly members, and what have you?
You know, as I speak to you, there's a pending case, that of Zamfara case. That one has not been decided, so we don't know the way to go. But the judiciary has become a very key component of the Nigerian democracy. But we can help the judiciary by making our laws simple and maybe covers all the field that we are discovering now. Because the judiciary cannot make law. It's not their business to make law. No matter how you engage or a judge engage in judicial activism, it cannot be the position of the law. The law is very clear, and the judiciary cannot usurp the role of the legislators. So we are going to have these cases coming, and it's going to build our jurisprudence, our legal jurisprudence, and it's going to guide us on lawmaking and aspiration. The people aspire. People every day want to do things differently. So these litigations are very good for our democracy, actually, because it will help us to build our democracy, and then from there we can evolve to become a better society, a better Nigerian society.
All right, Leonard, let's still place, Ebonyi and Cross River State side by side now. Well, the latest development from Cross River State and the judicial precedents that you have talked about, what can be, or what is the likelihood that Dave Umahi can assume power again, or how do I put it, can be reinstated as governor of the of his state again?
Let me explain something very quickly.
Yes, go ahead.
He was never removed, or he has never removed from office. Let me tell you one thing. Even when, as at the time Joseph of the Federal High Court made that decision, that was a court of first instance. By our judicial administration of justice, in terms of there's room for the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court to have heard the matter. Now, let me give you a simple one so that Nigerians will understand. If a man is sentenced to death, for instance, by the High Court of the state or a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory or the Federal High Court, he's not going to be executed immediately. He's going to be given an opportunity for him or her to exercise his right or her right of appeal up to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. It's the same thing. When you remove somebody, it's not as if the judgment is going to be implemented immediately. There's right of appeal, and then, of course, motion for stay of execution. Once that is done, the person enjoys that office. Otherwise, if you allow the execution of such judgment, then the subject matter in law will become nugatory, because the subject matter would have been destroyed. So the subject matter is preserved. So I can tell you that the governor of Ebonyi State has always been in office, even after that judgment, because he has exercised his right of appeal. He has even filed a motion for stay of execution, and before the Court of Appeal eventually came to his favor.
All right. So as it is right now, so he has, the legal, backing to remain in power. But let's talk about defections defections generally in Nigeria. Mercy talked about the 2023 IFA would have more cases like this coming up. This is just about the governor of Cross River State now, but we have other issues that have come up in other elected offices, House of Assembly, the National, the Senate, and the House of Representatives now. So how do we, make sure that in as much as we want to cross carpet to another party legally, because there are legal justification for all of that, we are doing that at the same time. We're also deepening the democracy, our democracy. At the end of the day, we are not actually confusing the electorate, as it were, because they voted us on the platform of a particular political party, and the next day haven't given them our mandate and everything. They are now in another political party.
Well, just like I say, it's an evolving democracy. Defection, even at the court of appeal, that my case said that it is morally reprehensible for you to have been elected on the platform and then you now decide to move and leave that platform. But the law, it is as it is. The issue is that the law don't operate in vacuum. There are exceptions to most laws. So the law gives you that latitude because actually I would say the law is made for the man and not man for the law. So if the law said nobody should go out on a particular day, there are exceptions, maybe critical emergency, you should be allowed to go out. So those are the exceptions that our viewers should be made to understand, that exception exists to laws, so that the law will be made for man and not man for the law. Otherwise, the site becomes so static and so stifled that we become slaves to law. So the law and the society works together. That's why it is an evolving development of the law. So, but one thing we'll have to look at it critically, let's just leave aside the law. What are the ideologies of this political party? Can you tell me sincerely that even the two major political parties now, what is their ideological differences? Because the US that we copied, the Republican and the Democrats, they have a clear blueprint. But can you tell us, can you say that we have a clear blueprint between the APC and the PDP? One morning you are in APC, the next morning you are in PDP, and vice versa. Look at, with the greatest respect, look at Atiku, he has been in all the parties, Saraki has been in all the parties, from one party to another. So it has pointed out to Nigerians that people are now looking at the person, the personality running that, vying for that office, not actually the party. Because I can tell you with all amount of dignity that you cannot say party A is better than party B. You are looking at the persons in that party. So if I decide today I'm in PDP, you now say I'm a good person, for instance, or I'm in APC, I'm a good person. I move to the other party, you now change your mind. What has changed? It is still by Anyogo. So, but until we get the ideology, the political ideology of a party distinct, and the operators of that political party, I'm talking about the persons, are bound to operate the blueprint, which is called the manifesto. We'll keep talking about defection, because defection has become like a norm. Today, if it is comfortable for you to be in party A, you are in party A. The next time you are in party B, without minding the manifestos of the political party that brought you to office.
But should the party not have internal mechanism to ensure that the issue of defection is addressed at that level, at the party level? I mean, of course, that the party, even though we still have an issue of grappling with the law and obeying the laws of the Constitution, whether at the party level or, as a whole, as a country, we're not very strong on obeying laws and rules. But should the issue of defection not be addressed at the party level?
Well, party's administration is very key. And you know that the convention of a political party is the highest organ of a political party. There, in the convention, you can make bylaws, you can make laws for the administration of your political party. But I dare to say to you that the way we administer our political party in Nigeria is still, with the greatest respect, I don't think it's still up to the standard that is expected. Because you must allow internal democracy, you must allow participation. You must allow people to vent their aspiration. That is my take exactly. Of course, it has to boil down to superior argument. Now, if you expel a man or a woman or a member of a political party from a party, what do you expect it to move? You're going to move to another political party. Or if he feels that he's not being carried along, because I have said several in different fora that politics is about interest. Where the interests of party members are not being carried along, they are going to vote and they will go to another political party. So we need to harness the interests of party members. That is party administration now. Because if you are in charge of a party as a chairman of a political party or whatever role you are, and then you decide to arrogate extreme power to yourself, you don't think. That's why they call section 40 of the Constitution of Nigeria guarantees an individual right of association, freedom of movement from one party to another. So because I belong to a political party now, and because my interest is not being fed, you don't expect me to remain in that political party. I'm going to leave. So what I'm saying is that you must harness the interest of members of political party in party administration. Otherwise, defections has come to stay, regrettably so. So party administration is key to ending defections in Nigeria. And of course, following the manifestos of political party will help us a lot as we evolve in our democracy.
All right. Barrister Leonard Anyogo, we have to let you go now. Thank you so much for being part of the show this morning. We do appreciate your time.
It's my honor. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And Leonard Anyogo is a legal practitioner. He's a member of the Chatham House, London. It's good to have you once again join us. And that's the size of the conversation for us right here, looking at the issue of defection. The courts, the suit seeking the sack of the governor of Cross River State and his deputy for defecting, and all of that judgment. That's it this morning.
All right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back. We'll be looking at sports in a moment. Stay with us.